to talk to you about the First Amendment, freedom of speech. This is only an introductory, and I will be using the examples and explanation on constitutional law to talk about free speech. Now, free speech is very dear to me because my parents came from Cuba, and the first thing that was taken away from Cubans was their right to speak politically, openly about the government. And what are we facing today? They want to take away our right to speak. And they're using corporations like Twitter and Facebook to censor American speech. And that is a direct violation of our freedom in America. And so no platform has a right to censor any American citizen. Individuals are protected in the First Amendment. This is not a regulation just for the government, although the government is regulated and cannot make a law abridging your speech. They cannot make a law infringing on your right to own guns. We're not a dictatorship. So what does the law say? We begin with a text. The words of the First Amendment are simple and straightforward. Congress shall not make no law. Congress shall make no law abridging the freedom of speech or of the press. There is power in this simplicity. The blunt prescription would seem to preclude any legislation that limits or punishes the protected activities. However, it's not just for legislation. The government has a duty to protect our right from being infringed upon or abridged by corporations. This right, the corporations have no right to censor your speech in online or offline. Lawyers are not doing their job, and they're not upholding the Constitution. They are actually wimps. They're wusses. They lack courage. And they don't want to litigate because it costs money. So the law has been perverted, and we do not have lawyers working for the people and protecting, making sure that our rights are being protected. No law can be made by Congress abridging our free speech or that of being able to worship. Our freedoms are absolute. They're God-given. Our Constitution is committed to the freedom of the people and the press. The press must be free from government perversion and control. We're not a political democracy, we're a republic. That's another perversion in our system and our legal system. Those who are training to be lawyers today do not understand that we are and we will never be a democracy. No document in America writes that we're a democracy. We will never lose our democracy because we're not a democracy. However, we can lose our constitutional republic if we keep on being silent and we don't understand our rights. Every American citizen should know the Constitution and the laws and the history behind the Constitution. the centrality of political speech to the core purpose of the First Amendment. Not because political speech is inherently more valuable than other types of speech, but because our system of self-governance is dependent on free inquiry and debate, and because the centralized government power has the potential to constrict knowledge and distort that debate through the suppression of opposing viewpoints, and to distort that debate through the suppression of opposing viewpoints. In the court's words, therefore, the First Amendment represents a profound national commitment to the principles that debate on public issues should be uninhibited, robust, and wide open. When I ran for office, my speech was censored by Netflix after COVID pandemic, and they started locking us down, which was another infringement of our right and our freedom to choose what to eat, what to wear, and how to act. My right was violated by Facebook. And today, I stand here and I'd like to open. I know that the statute of limitation for contracts is 3 years. Or when you knew that you had a legal, it's either 3 years from the time that they infringed on your rights, or when you knew that they were infringed on your right. And so today I clearly know that they infringed on my right, and I should seek legal redress. My opponent, Meg Froelich, did not debate me. This was also a suppression of my right, of the voters' right to hear me and Meg debate certain issues like abortion and election rights and integrity, and a whole slew of other issues. So I believe that I contest my race, number one, because I don't believe that the voters had an equal opportunity to hear both of us speak. Political speech does not represent a rigidly defined category. Rather, in practice, all speech is treated with the same dignity as that afforded political speech, unless the speech at issue falls into a specifically defined category, like you violated a crime, you committed a crime, or in the books, or well, really, it's if you committed a crime, or you defame somebody because of your speech. But if it's true, then there is no defamation. Only if it's false. You cannot bear false witness against your neighbor, and that is a violation of somebody else's right and a personal injury. The freedom of speech and the press fully protect commentary and debate on an almost boundless range of topics, from profound to the mundane. Political speech is simply the nucleus around which these other categories revolve. In terms of analysis, you will find that the doctrine of free speech and press share much with the analysis applied to the problem involving equal protection and due process. Thus, content-based restrictions on political speech are subject to strict scrutiny. And this is debatable too, because in the 20th century, we started seeing an erosion of our constitutional rights. Commercial speech receives something like mid-level scrutiny. Moreover, the analytical ties to these other constitutional provisions applies even in those contexts in which special First Amendment doctrine have been developed to address particular types of problems. Treatment of the government regulation that burdens speech in content-neutral fashion in terms of burdens on speech, the elements of the test are closely allied with the familiar balancing formula of due process. So speech, this is how speech is defined. The speech and press clause prohibit the abridgment of freedom of speech or press. Literally, this prescription includes only the spoken and the printed word. But in practice, does it embrace a wider array of expressive activities? Yes, it does. That's my opinion, of course. Debatable as a lawyer. Free speech and freedom of the press is often interchangeable with the more inclusive phrase, freedom of expression. In general, a wide variety of expressive activity or conduct intended to communicate a message and reasonably understood to communicate that message is included within the broad reach of speech. So this speech right now, me being here on video, is protected. And YouTube cannot abridge my right to share with you my knowledge and my opinions on whatever the government is doing. And therefore, if anyone on here is being infringed or abridged, they need to sue. They need to sue YouTube. They need to sue Twitter. They need to sue Facebook. They cannot abridge your content. If you're an American citizen, you're protected. Your right is absolute. There is no content that they can censure at all. Sensitivity, speech is a violation of your speech. Too bad. If you're sensitive, then turn it off. That's it. There is no definition of speech. There is no hate speech in America. That is a violation of a person's free speech right.